Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the Kai Shulin Project, where if you're a little disoriented looking at this, I can explain. I the previous session, which I had recorded of building the arm out, I've decided not to upload that for public viewership, if only because, yeah, whenever I do these recordings, there are generally two mindsets I go into. One is if there's something to teach or something I can kind of display, I'll try to talk about that type of stuff. If I'm like doing patterning details, I'll try to describe why. Doing fabric stuff, I'll try to describe. If I'm doing kind of more of those, I can try to describe those types of things. Doing something like the arm, when I was blocking out like the body early on, certain ones where you can kind of turn your brain off and just kind of do. I tend to go more into kind of a blogging kind of mode and kind of just kind of talk about whatever's going on kind of during the day kind of thing, whatever's going on in my life, just to kind of fill airtime, because it feels really odd or awkward when there's no talking going on. And I don't really want this to be an ASMR thing. I'd like to be conveying some kind of info. But as it turns out, last weekend I had mentioned early on I was an advisor for a community service group. It was Alpha Phi Omega. I was an advisor for 14 years for them back, well, up until about 5 years ago, at which point I was let go. The long and short of it was this was back in 2021. This is back when COVID was going on. This is back when we couldn't meet in person. Everything was done via email. This was when you had like the protests and all that were going on in the cities. Everyone was out doing their thing. And they decided to join with a group which was politically affiliated. I tried to warn them against that, and rather than have like the philosophical back and forth, they decided to let me go, or rather, basically, yeah, get rid of me rather than take out their political affiliation stuff, and that was that. So, fast forward to this past weekend, they have their annual fundraiser. It was actually this past weekend, and it just kind of, for me, it brought up a lot of memories from there. And although I didn't really say anything bad, I still don't think bad of the group. It's one of those. 2021 was just one of those moments. It's just, unless you were there, it was just one of those kind of moments in times. Things happen. That's fine. And my conversation kind of went more towards like reminiscing with the group and talking about the group. I went more into detail on kind of what happened during that time period. And frankly, it's not the appropriate conversation, I think, to have towards this. There are some topics I would rather not cover if I'm going to be going into that. And that's a much more complicated issue than for this. And also, if I were to do it, I'd rather have a back and forth. This isn't the right venue if it's only me projecting out and there's no back and forth. So that's one of those topics I'd rather not actually have on here. If you want to go into like politics and stuff like that, I'm going to try to stay away from that type of issue if I go into blog mode. So I feel rather than kind of air that stuff out here, again, it wasn't really grievous. It was more of just, most of it was just kind of reminiscing of old times when I was with the group, both as an active member in college and a little bit towards when I was that. But at the same time, it was just an awkward conversation to have here, and I don't think this was the right venue for that, even if it was just for filling dead air while trying to model out the arm. So we are where we are now. As I had mentioned before, when I first made the hand, I'd made the hand a little small. So off camera, I'd gone and made the hand bigger, which now all of this is off camera, I guess. And from that, I started to then build back the arm. As we can see, we now have an indent inside, so when it goes in, it will stay where it needs to be. It's not going to twist in and out. And what I had done to attach the hand is rather than kind of squeeze the hand onto here, I just dug a little channel out of the hand, glued the hand to the wire on there, and then just repacked over. And this kind of started looking all kinds of wrong, and so I kind of stopped it so I could have at least a moment to look this over before actually doing the next step, because I'm pretty historically bad at doing arms. I know I didn't upload the Night Witch project, the Rain project I'd done before, but that took me both arms I'd actually gotten the sizing of wrong and whatnot, and I had to redo basically both of those from scratch. Bangs actually worked out really good from the start, but historically I tend to somehow everything feels wrong until instantly it feels right. So that said, we're just going to back this up a little bit. And I'm actually recording this on Wednesday, and it's actually going to be uploaded later on tonight. So I don't really have the time to pre-look this over, so we're going to be doing a little bit of learning kind of on the job over here. And first thing we want to do to see why this feels wrong, I think I already figured it out, but just kind of going my own mental checklist was, if we look at the image on the side, if we measure from the shoulder, you can see kind of the wrist area to palm kind of comes right down to where the two legs come together down here. And so if we take my good friend the calipers here, aka my compass, and we measure up, this winds up being approximately 3 3/8 inches on here. So I will never turn this thing correctly the first time, I'll never go in or out the right way the first time ever. So just kind of getting an idea of where we are right now, just see if our proportions are right. We have that. I have inch and strong half. And then from elbow to top, which actually it's going to wind up being just a little bit more, it looks like. So we have inch and strong half. I can say inch and 5/8. I'm looking at this. So inch and a half, inch and 5/8 is actually, it was almost 3/4. Let's say strong 5/8. Inch and strong half, inch and strong 5/8 is going to be 3 1/4. So our arm length, the length from shoulder to elbow down is actually about correct. So that part's not really a problem. So next we have our general width of the arm, which again, I did that. The width, depending where I look on it, actually isn't too far off. I think I still have slightly more kind of masculine arms. They're a little wider than they need to be, but that's really not the problem. So then what's the problem with this that makes it not look right? And I think a large part of that is I had modeled the fingers. We then have the glove on top. I then have the extra kind of padding going up the side. And then I have the wrist springing from the padding on the side of here. With addition to, I think, the thumb, I think I want to slide up just a little bit. The thumb, I think, is down a little bit further on the wrist than I want. That will shrink the hand a little bit. I think I was too small the first time, and I'm slightly too big this time. So I think what I want to do is slide the thumb up a little bit. And then, as we can see on the image here, she has the two little bands that kind of go around, that kind of block off the hand from the forearm and the wrist. And I think I want to do that so that it gives me a better opportunity to spring the wrist from where it's supposed to be, rather than merging this armor part into the wrist visually. And I think if I do those two changes, that should start to help bring this into where I want it to be. So first thing I'm doing is I'm moving the thumb up, because this is where clay is super nice. I can do that. We look at our hand comes down, our thumb, and then it kind of, our thumb, sometimes I forget how close the camera is. So our thumb kind of comes down, and it still kind of comes in. The wrist is still down a little bit from there. So our wrist is still kind of in that area, but at least I fattened the thumb. That's awesome. We don't need a fat thumb. I can reapply armor and stuff like that as we go. Let's see, so if we do, whoa, we don't want the thumb ending up backwards. Broken thumb, that's not good. Yeah, thumb can only go so far. It can move quite a bit, but it only has so many directions. And I just probably made somebody really sick by doing that. I'm sorry. So if we do something like this, okay, we're a little too far forward. Just kind of, I want it more on the hip than on the front. So if I want that, I want to bring this up just a little. We're going to be squeezing this arm as we go. Okay, so that at least gets us closer. The thumb is doing some really dumb things. I think I would prefer something a little more like that. Ugh. I can do a little something more like this. Now we're going to redo this whole thing, 'cause as I'm moving around, I am completely destroying stuff. So, it is what it is. So now what I want is I want to skinny this thing up a little bit. I think by doing what I did, I kind of messed up how we fit inside there, but that should be an easy kind of fix to do. I see the arm is all kinds of bumpy. Now, nice thing is hers is she doesn't have much muscle definition. It's not like we have huge biceps or triceps sticking out. We don't have huge forearm things going on. So this should be relatively straight. It's a little harder than Bang's only because her hands are visible. Bang's arms were actually not visible in the end. It was hidden by the clothing. So this does become a little more involved only because we do see this level of detail. But again, she's not bulky like he was. So I don't need to worry about that. And I think just doing this is starting to help bring it together a little bit. Now the wrist is feeling all kinds of wrong. So I do want to have this kind of come in and then around, I think. Historically, arms are really bad for me, so bear with me on this. This is going to look wrong until it looks right. It's just one of those things that every single time I do it, it just looks wrong until it looks right. And I feel like I enjoy doing more like the detail-y stuff and all that afterwards. This is one of those kind of necessary evils for me, so just kind of bear with, if you've been following along this whole time, just bear with me on this one thing here. We will get through this phase. It will be good in the end. It will just be a process until we get to that looking good phase. So all I'm doing now is when I re-pushed this back in, I had squirted this out beyond the confines of this band I had put on. So we need to bring the arm kind of back into size. Okay, and I can feel the metal right up there, so I can't bring it down much more than that. Yeah, when my mind kind of changes from this to the blog mode stuff, it just kind of goes where it wants to. And like I said, most times I kind of keep things in. It was just, for whatever reason, it's just that one topic just came up just because it was their fundraiser. It was on my head. It was like, no, don't do that. There are other things to talk about. And I knew it was wrong, but I just kept talking anyway. We're human sometimes. We are humans sometimes. That said, I shouldn't be this far back right now in this. I should be further ahead on a model. I shouldn't be like right up against the clock like I am. Only last weekend, I was really hoping just kind of bang out the rest of the game. That was my plan. I was going to disproportionately put times toward just bang out the rest of the game, get that part done, and move on. And unfortunately, I spent a lot of time on the game, and the end game is going longer than I thought. So I'm still not done with it. I think I have probably 1 or 2 missions left to go. So I still have some more time I need to dedicate to that. I still think it's a really fun game. Just the problem strategy games have in my mind Now, I don't have that much experience. I've played, I was about to say Resonance of Fate, Radiant Dawn. No, it's a Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. I've done Final Fantasy Tactics, and Age of Empires would be another one kind of put in that. And the problem I have with those is every one of those games just kind of lasts longer than I think they need to. It's like you get to a point where like I get it. This doesn't have to be like this 40, 50 hour game. You can stop making scenarios that you have to plug through in the game to get going. It's okay. It's okay to end the game earlier. We don't need this thing to be a 50-hour game. You can be very good and very sweet and just kind of you can end halfway through. That's fine. I will understand. You got your main point across. It's just you're a good game. It's just a lot of game. And I think I hit that point on this one a little while ago. It's like it's fun. I have actually really enjoyed. If you haven't seen Mondays or I guess today's Wednesdays, the chapter 17 ones, those were really fun chapters. I will say those were really fun chapters to do. But at the same time, I think I'm ready to move on. It would be nice to be able to spend more time on this or dedicate some more time to this than I have been. It would be nice to finally get on with it. Okay, let's see if we can get this thumb to kind of feel like a thumb again. Alright, so part of what we need is we need the webbing to kind of come in between. So let's block up that so we have a little bit of webbing in here. The problem is I'm just not feeling like the thumb wants to be in a good place. I guess that's about as good as I'm gonna see. My body kind of goes more like this. Would probably be. Yeah, the wrist can twist. The wrist can twist to do that. So actually, yeah, if I can keep you like this, that would make me happy. How do we look on there? That's actually not too bad. I think the main difference is when we get to that, her fingers then kind of separate a little bit. And I think that kind of brings us to where we want to be, which it wouldn't be bad to separate the fingers a little bit anyway before they really start sticking together. Now, I don't want to do too much of these fingers right now, because the problem with the fingers is the more you work them, the more things go wrong with them, and the harder it is to kind of make things feel right again. So I don't really want to overwork these guys, but I would like them to at least somewhat feel like what they're supposed to feel like on here. Yeah, because see, just by doing that, now all of a sudden everything got all kaflooey. Well, I'm going to be probably dealing with the finger stuff off camera. Right now, this session, what I would like to get done is I want to get kind of this guard on the arm. Get the arm to kind of feel right and get that guard kind of on there is really kind of the main goal I'm aiming towards on this. Oops. Let's go and knock the camera off the table. That would be not the first time. All right, we're going to do our little snaky thing. We're going to go back to kindergarten again. Learned how to do this when I was like 2 years old. Playing with Play-Doh or whatever we had back when I was 2 years old in the 80s. Okay, I really don't need that much. Too much stuff. Okay, now as you cannot see on that image, if you can see on this one, again, what I'm looking at, I'm kind of looking at the same thing, only blown up bigger size on here. But as you can see on the side, at the base of the wrist, or right on the wrist there, it's two loops kind of this that go around and kind of signify the end. So I'm just kind of getting this prepped so I can make a wrist, hopefully the right, kind of the right size, put that on, and then that gives an end point for the hand detail, and it kind of gives then the forearm a place to actually start. Because yeah, the forearm, part of what is wrong is the forearm is extending from, like I said, the guard on here rather than treating it as a glove, and that's part of what's making this feel very incorrect. And actually just doing that, I feel like, even though it's as rounded as Gumby is, aka just a nice square thing, but that already makes that feel better. The wrist now feels like it's more the size it wants to be. Let's just round it off a little bit. I don't need to worry too much about this side because this side's going to get the guard that goes on top, but for getting this under part done, this is kind of important. And while this thing is off, let's see if we can give ourselves a little bit of an elbow. Okay, let's see. Now, I know she doesn't have that much muscle kind of definition going on, but as you can see, if you kind of flex your arm over on the side here, it pushes this muscle a little out to the side, so I'm going to put a little bit extra on the side, just so at least it looks like it's displacing muscle to the side as you kind of bend the arm. Again, I'm not great at understanding anatomy, but at least I have a basic idea, I feel like. Most of the characters I have, actually, that's not true. Most ones I've done this year really have had bare arms. Because I don't do many models, but I just kind of, like I said, like these things, I enjoy just kind of, I can do a little bit here, a little bit there. If it takes a couple months to do, that's fine. I don't need to race through these things. I'll be honest, I'm happy with those. Once again, I keep saying it, but I'm happy with those of you who watch. But this is not looking like it's ever going to be like a monetized type stream or whatever, or video kind of thing. It's just, I do this for fun. And if you enjoy this, if you can pick up something from it, that's cool. But I'm not one of those who's going to have to rush and get something done and like every 2 weeks have like a new model done kind of deal. I'm just going to, it's just something kind of tune into a few times a week if you want to kind of follow along, watch some kind of progress being made on something. It's like one of those fish in a bottle, right? Like a ship in a bottle kind of thing. You just kind of have this project you return to. I think I'd mentioned during the Bang one, watching the Nakatili stream where he used to do the Fragment Fridays, which then he eventually transformed into making Mindenhall, where he just basically went into it wasn't Minecraft. I think it was like Dragon Warrior Builders, whatever. And he just every week for like 3 hours on Friday, he would go and just put block after block after block and slowly build up like the main castle from one of the Dragon Quest games. I've never played Dragon Quest. I forget which one. But just slowly building up the main castle. It was like one of those each week, just kind of see little progress here, little progress there. And that's kind of all I'm looking for this being. I think it took him like 20 some weeks to do it. It was like literally pretty much like half a year. It came out really good in the end, but it's that kind of mentality of I don't need to rush through it. It's just hopefully just kind of sitting back and just enjoying just seeing progress in something being made. It's not necessarily the finished product, it's seeing progress. And again, stuff like this, some areas will work out really well and be like, wow, I'm so glad I learned something. Some areas I'm going to be learning from. Things aren't always going to go well. This hand is not going, this arm in general is not going well. But it just, we kind of go through those sessions and we learn from them, hopefully. And we just take it from there. And that's kind of all I'm hoping for this to be. What are we at right now? We're at 25 minutes. Okay. I think I had my 5-minute long monologue at the start, which was super awkward but necessary because, yeah, I do want you to know I will go into talking stuff. I know you're going to hear a lot of fitness things as time goes on and whatnot. That's just going to be part of what this is. But yeah, certain topics I don't really want to bring into this particular forum, and that's just kind of what it is. This is actually looking a lot better now. This is looking a lot more like what I want it to look like. Oh, that's good. Let's drop the hand on the floor. Okay, so boop. So what we want is this actually to go on top of the edge of the glove, which I cut actually I think slightly short. I actually do want you to be just a little bit longer right now. Maybe not that much, just kind of the width of what I'm putting on here. Something like this will be fine. So let's re-blend this into the glove. And I think I'm going to put the guard on, then we can start re-detailing out all this, because I've already completely messed up this. And I think where I made this end, I want that to come a little farther forward, whatnot too. So there's going to be a whole lot of kind of touching up on that going on. But I think I'm feeling like I'm getting somewhere positive this time. Whereas last time, the answer was no. I felt no good coming from last time. It was one of those wrong conversation to go into, followed by everything just felt terrible. And yep, that was the story of last session. So let's see if we can improve things a little bit this time. So we're going to bring you down here. Okay, now I forgot if I actually cut that to size or not, but if I didn't cut that to size, did dang good. Sometimes I feel like my long-term memory is really good, but I feel like my short-term memory is terrible. So I may have actually cut that to size, but otherwise, I just feel like I just got really lucky right there. Okay, let's get piece number 2, maybe on camera. Maybe not. It's part and parcel of this. And at least this will give a definitive end to the glove portion. Alright, just kind of see if we can stiffen that out. I know the thumb is doing weird things. I feel like I'm gonna deal with this thumb when I deal with that thumb. It's, like I said, I kind of want something like that. We can bend it down. I also feel like you are coming out a little wider still than I want. We have kind of like this Mickey Mouse kind of size arm going, so let's shrink that down just a little bit. And actually that packed down pretty good. We still have the good clean visual of 2 rings going on, even though now we have shrunk it a little, which is good. We want that. Okay, we got that, let's get all this excess clay off of here. And let's go ahead and maybe work on this arm and start detailing that out. So we need to, I'm going to roll this thing out a little bit. And first thing we're going to do is we need to make kind of this shirt area. How thick are we on this right now? We're a 5. We might go down to 5 in the end, but if I'm just doing my initial rolling out, I want this as wide as it can be. I want this like all the way at the 7. All we're doing right now is kneading the dough. I'm not actually shrinking this to size. Just kind of getting the air pockets out, just kind of shrinking the size. Now we can kind of drop it down to this size we want this to be. I think a 5 is going to be fine. We can come back over here and kind of through the magic of not needing to care super much about this, in order to make the sleeve on this side, we're looking at the red portion of the sleeve, not the guard, but the red portion of the sleeve that matches the shirt. All we need is something like that. There's our sleeve. That will cover our entire arm. Because I know I've shown this trick before on numerous occasions in various parts. Whether or not it was specifically on her or not, I don't know. But all we're going to do is take this, end it right there. Because it looks like it ends just below the elbow. So if you were to bend your elbow as such, whoop, it stops just kind of below and doesn't actually bend with. So I just need to take that. Now blend this bottom part in. Now this did thicken out the arm. It's going to take a little bit of work to kind of really blend this thing in so it feels like it's part of the arm. But this is one of like the oldest tricks in here. If you're doing like socks or boots and shoes and stuff like that, this is one of those main tricks you can use. Because also now you have a sleeve. It looks like a sleeve. It reads like a sleeve. That is, generally speaking, at least in clay, one of the main tools you have in your toolbox to make these things, especially if you're doing like kind of any kind of tight things, like I said, socks, if you like the tight kind of knee-high boot kind of thing, stuff like that. This is the way you do it. You would model like a calf and leg, then you just kind of do something like that to get the top to read correctly. Whoop, dropping stuff. Let's make sure that is in there. And now then from that, just like as we did on the shirt, let's go and make some lines. Now these look like they're a little tighter than on the shirt. It's a smaller area. Oh, I've gone quiet. Dead air time. Dead air time. Not good. Okay, now we're going to start a little tighter on the bottom than on the top. I can't make parallel lines or else things start to rotate kind of badly. But oh, then the hard one, kind of get into the crevice here. Okay, and then once we have that, again, this is now what I didn't do on camera last time, or at least I showed 1 or 2 of these kind of crenulations last time, or whatever word you want to use for it. But we're just going to go and do a little bit of this, just kind of cut the very end and kind of weed it in. And as you can see, I'm messing up the arm itself, but we start to get that kind of nice little detail on the side. Now, of course, I just did the least important part of that whatsoever because this is the part that's being covered by the guard, but oh, this feels so much better to be doing detailing stuff than to trying to base out the arm. Like I said, for whatever reason, arms and me just Bang was the exception. All the other ones I've done recently have just been so terrible. Again, they come out fine in the end, but for some reason they just fight me every step of the way. I'm sure if you have activities or whatnot that you like to do, you're going to find pitfalls in kind of anything. I mean, stuff just happens. You're not going to be perfect, I would suspect, at everything that you do. And you're going to have probably, I would guess, similar situations on some of your activities. But for me, just this is one of those details that it kills me every time. And I wish it didn't, but it does. All right, and now if we're going to do the guard I'm going to do in two separate. Well, I'm looking, and it does flop over the elbow. There is a flopping part that kind of comes up out there, and part of me wants to do that as a separate piece, and part of me says no, do this as one piece so then at least it's connected to something. Although what I could do is I could do a separate piece and just like throw a little wire in here, just kind of throw it through and then just kind of take that down so it actually stays put. And that might be the way to go because again it's going to be a loose piece, in which case I'm just going to make this separate. This is actually plenty long, so that's good. Let's actually get a straight edge on this. How are we doing time-wise? We're doing good on time. I don't care if it's a shorter session. I just don't want to go super long on these sessions, that's all. Okay, so let's start to bring this in. Start with that. How does that look? That width goes down there. Does that feel fine? Ah. Yeah, unfortunately we take this off. I can't, there are no views of her hand on her hip in anything that I've seen without the camo on there. But if I'm going this way, it does go up the side there, so that should be kind of what it does. And I'm feeling okay on that side. I feel like I want to be maybe just a little bit wider than this. So that's fine. We can do that. I also just noticed my camera is facing down, so if my camera was facing down during that whole kind of testing this out section, my bad on that. Now the bottom was okay. I wanted a little bit wider kind of towards the top. That might be a little too much wider up top. I think we're a little skinny on the bottom, so let me... Good thing is we are too long, so I can just cut off the bottom, and that instantly makes the bottoms a little wider. Okay, that feels pretty good up top. That's kind of what I want there. And I think I can come down just a little bit. Yeah, okay. I think we're close. I just want to be just a little bit wider, which again, if we're too long and I'm wider up top and I want this to be wider, I can cut off the bottom. That's got to bring this part down, which now makes this actually where I want it to be. So you're good, you're good. Because I kind of want it to go right about halfway up. And kind of same with here, as long as we're around halfway. Whoop, we get that off. I'm feeling kind of okay with this. Oh, I feel like this arm is either really easy or really hard to take off. It feels like it's never in between the two. Okay, so we're in there. So now I just want to get it so it's nice and kind of tight up against this seam. Because the tighter I can get it kind of as an abstract here, the easier it becomes later on. So let's just get that part going right in the first place. Now I can push that down. And realistically, this doesn't stick out super far, so maybe I can just kind of keep, kind of looks like it rounds off the top just a little bit. Don't think I've rounded off the top enough. And a little bit on this side. Again, now we can take those kind of straight edges and just kind of tap just a little bit. It'll take kind of that hardness off. What I don't want to see are just kind of hard edges on that. And that will be cut a little further actually down because we need to do our little snake thing again. Ow. Okay, and this is going to go. You know what, I'm actually going to take just a little more of this off. Start here and go just a little more of that angle right from the start. Now I shouldn't really worry about this part because this is going to be cut off once I put the wire around here, the cord around here, whatever phrasing I want to use for that. And this is going to come down something like down here. It's not all the way up at the elbow, it's in a little bit. So I'm just going to take that, do a little boop. Realize we didn't quite get that 100%. We need to cut both halves off. Hey, got that one off. Good. Roll this back together. And just like that, we have one cord. Which now has an elastic band on her arm. Perfect. Okay, so kind of like this one down here, I'm just kind of packing it in just a little bit just so it's not sticking up. The profile's not as big as before. And then with that, we can fine tune with this. Yes, this will be good. So we're gonna go as far as I do on this section, and then I think I'm gonna do any kind of further fine tunings after this. I'll do off camera, and then we're gonna probably start on the other arm next session. Because we're far enough into this now that that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so in here I see just a little bit of a gap between the wire there and the bottom, so I'm just going to roll you up just a little bit just to kind of fill up that gap. And I'm not putting too much pressure on here, it's just enough to get the job done, and really nothing more than that. Okay, got that in there. So what do we have next to think about? Next we have you kind of come up. Shaky hands, shaky hands, shaky hands. Alright, so we have that comes up. Let's maybe not cut this cord right there. That would be great if this stayed together and I did things right. Alright, and now similar to the patterning down here, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be fine, I think, with just this guy. Because unless I have my original pattern piece on the table here, which I'm not seeing, I think I will be fine just doing our diagonals with this. Am I on camera? Kind of. Let's try to keep these somewhat parallel with each other. And generally evenly spaced would be nice. Okay, so we have a little detail going on there. That part's good. Let's see here. We have the back of this. Oh, I can't see on that tiny image there. Okay. So let's see. If we come to you, not that. Why does this never want to grab the image I have here? Yes, I can see on you what's going on. So there is no patterning up top here, so that makes that at least somewhat easier to deal with. But it looks like it comes in and out. Yes, we're kind of coming in and out there, and we're going to come in and out here. So that's going to come off. Oh, you can see I'm much happier actually doing this stuff than I was doing them modeling the arm in the first half of this segment. For sure. I just don't like basing out characters. Trying to get the proportions right and all that is just so stressful. This part just seems so much easier. It's like, oh, we already have the base stuff out here. It's like coloring versus drawing pictures. And it's like drawing straight lines and whatnot, or doing the line work versus coloring an image. Doing coloring book is nice and fun. doing the line work and stuff can be actual work. So this is a little more of my happy place. Oh, and I am derp. There are 2 wires that go up there, so it's a double on here like it is on the bottom. I didn't account for that. Now that I changed the image I'm looking at, I can see it clear as day. So let's go ahead and make that second wire. Oh, I'm doing everything 100% off screen because I forgot the camera is angled down. I don't care if I do like one of these videos or like 1,000 of these videos. I think I'm always going to have issues with this camera. Which, speaking of which, I'm getting pretty close to my 100th video. I think this is going to be like session 93 or something like that, so we're getting there. I've been YouTubing for a little while now. I think this has been kind of fun. It has been fun kind of throwing things out. I said some things have garnered interest. Anytime I do like the Spartan ones, those have definitely garnered interest. So I'm thinking when the game is done, I might move more into like a once a week kind of fitness thing or whatever. Maybe have like, now that fall is coming up, maybe kind of do some hikes or whatever and kind of fill some time slots. But or I might just do, when I start getting into my next kind of training session, maybe once a week, kind of going over what are my plans for this, that, or the other for training wise, what I want to get out of things. And I'm thinking that's going to be the next kind of objective that I'm going for after the game is done. But we will see. Okay, I'm just trying to put a little edging on this. But no, I think now that we've done kind of the roughly 100 of these episodes, I'm starting to figure out what I like having on here, what I think some of you guys enjoy seeing on here based on viewership numbers and all that. And I think on the gaming side of things, I think if I were to do that again, like if I were to do a different model and just want to play the game that the model is based off of, I might either make a separate channel for that and just have like a separate kind of gaming channel, or I might just do that on my own if I feel like it. Or hopefully I choose a shorter game. I said, I knew this one going in. My last save was like 48 hours in, was my last save on the previous playthrough. And I'm going a little more expediently than that. But still, I know it's a longer game. I knew that going in. It's just, it would be nice if I could move on at this point. It's just too much game. It's not that it's bad, it's just too much game. But as I said, this Monday and Friday, this chapter 17 stuff, they were fun fights. They were fun fights. They were fun scenarios they set up. They may not necessarily be the hardest ones. And generally speaking, the hardest scenarios aren't necessarily the most fun ones. But sometimes it's just, you get stuff that, yeah, just feels right when you do it. And bam, look at that. I have my arrows right there. And that's, I think, kind of where I want to leave this one off at this point. Where are we now? Okay, yeah, we're pretty well there on time. And I think off camera, I'm going to play with this hand a little bit. I can redo a number of these areas just to kind of get it to feel a little more correct. I know this thumb is definitely causing issues. It's one of those, there's something going on, but I also don't want to spend the time staring at it on camera until I figure it out. I can just do that off camera. That'll be fine. I hope. I'm getting a lot of angry responses. I know it's going to happen. But I think we're getting into an area where I'm feeling okay on this. So that's where we are now. And like I said, next time, we will take this start of a hand. We will have to finish this out so it's actually looking somewhat like a hand, and then we're going to start going on the next side, which again, this one is going to be holding on to the rifle down there, and the rifle will come sometime. That rifle may be one of the last things I do on this, because I'm still haven't 100% figured out that detail yet, and that will be something I need to actually do some planning for. I'm thinking that's going to be done out of wood, and it's going to be probably a couple sessions with a Dremel, so be mindful of that. There's going to be loud noises for those, but no, this is where we are right now. Just got to fix the thumb, and until next time, enjoy.